From translation. TLB the Living Bible this 113th day of the year. Today we are reading passages 2 Kings 6-8, 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 1 to 33. Now the prophet said to Elisha, "As you can see, the place where we meet with you is too small for us. Please let us go to the Jordan River," they said, "and let each of them get a pole and build a place where we can live." And he said, "Go ahead." So one of them said, "Please go with your servants." And Elisha replied, "I will go." So Elisha went with them. When they arrived at the Jordan, they began cutting down trees. But as one of them was cutting down a tree, the iron head of his axe fell off and floated away in the river. "Oh, sir," he cried out, "it was a borrowed axe." "Where did it fall?" Elisha asked. And the man showed him the place. So Elisha cut off a branch, threw it into the water, and made the iron head float. "Lift it out," Elisha said, and the man reached out and grabbed it. Now the king of Aram was at war with Israel. After conferring with his officers, he said, "We will set up our camp at such and such a place." But the man of God sent word to the king of Israel, "Beware of going to that place, because the Arameans are waiting there for you." So the king of Israel sent word to the place the man of God had mentioned. Time after time, Elisha warned the king, so that he was on his guard in such places. This made the king of Aram furious. He summoned his officers and demanded, "Why are we having no success? Is the king of Israel getting inside information from someone?" One of his officers replied, "Sir, none of us, not even the king himself, knows that you are planning this. But Elisha, the prophet who is in Israel, tells the king of Israel even the words you speak in your bedroom. Find out where he is," the king ordered, "so I can send men and capture him." The answer came back, "He is in Dothan." Then the king sent horses and chariots and a strong force there. They arrived by night and surrounded the city. When the servant of the man of God got up and went out early the next morning, an army with horses and chariots had surrounded the city. "Oh, sir," he said to Elisha, "what shall we do?" "Don't be afraid," the prophet answered. "Those who are with us are more than those who are with them." And Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open his eyes so he may see." Then the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he looked and saw the hills full of horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha. As the Arameans came down toward him, Elisha prayed to the Lord, "Strike this army with blindness." So he struck them with blindness, as Elisha had asked. Elisha led them to the city of Samaria. When they had entered it, Elisha prayed, "O Lord, open these men's eyes so they can see." Then the Lord opened their eyes, and they looked and were inside the city of Samaria. The king of Israel asked Elisha, "Shall I kill them, my father? Shall I kill them?" "No," he answered, "do not kill them. Those who live by the sword will die by the sword. Feed them and give them water to drink. Let them share with your own troops." The king prepared a great feast for them, and when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they returned to their master. And the Aramean raiders from then on stopped raiding the land of Israel. So the king prepared a great feast for them, and when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they returned to their master. And the Aramean raiders from then on stopped raiding the land of Israel. Some time later, Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, mobilized his entire army and marched up and laid siege to Samaria. There was a great famine in the city. The siege was so severe that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a quarter of a cab of doves' dung sold for 5 pieces of silver. As the king of Israel was passing along the wall on the city roof, a woman cried out to him, "Help me, my lord, O king." The king replied, "If the Lord doesn't help you, where can I help you?" "From the threshing floor, from the winepress." Then the king asked her, "What's the matter?" She answered, "This woman said to me, 'Give up your son so we may eat him today and eat my son tomorrow.' So we cooked my son and ate him. The next day I said to her, 'Give up your son so we may eat him,' but she has hidden him." When the king heard this, he tore his robes and walked along the wall of the city, and the people saw that his sackcloth was next to his skin. "May God punish me severely if Elisha son of Shaphat still has a head by the time the sun goes down," the king exclaimed. Now Elisha was sitting in his house, and the elders were sitting with him. The king sent a messenger ahead of him with the message, "When this messenger arrives, shut the door and hold it shut against him." Isn't the sound of his master's footsteps right behind him? While the king was still speaking to the messenger, Elisha said to the elders and all the people in the room, "Did you see how this murderer is sending men to execute me? Shut the door and hold it shut against him. The man of God's foot is right behind him." 2 Kings chapter 7, verses 1 to 19. Elisha replied, "Hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Lord says. About this time tomorrow, a seah of flour will sell for a shekel and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria." The officer on whose arm the king was leaning said to the man of God, "Look, even if the Lord opened the windows of the heavens, could this happen?" "You will see it with your own eyes," Elisha answered, "but you will not eat any of it." Now there were 4 men with leprosy at the entrance of the city gate. They said to each other, "Why stay here until we die? If we say, 'We'll go into the city,' the famine is there and we will die." And if we stay here, we will die. So let's go over to the camp of Aram and surrender. If they spare us, we live. If they kill us, we die." So at twilight they went to the camp of Aram. But when they reached the edge of the camp, no one was there, for the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army. So they said to one another, "Look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptian kings to attack us." So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and donkeys. They left the camp as it was and ran for their lives. The men with leprosy reached the edge of the camp. They entered one tent after another, eating and drinking, and carrying silver, gold, and clothes from them and hiding them. Then they returned and entered another tent and took things from it. They said to each other, "We're not doing right. This is a day of good news and we are keeping it to ourselves. If we wait until daylight, punishment will come upon us. Let's go at once and report this to the royal palace." So they went and called to the gatekeepers of the city and told them, "We went to the camp of Aram and not a man was there, not a sound of anyone, only tethered horses and donkeys, and the tents left just as they were." The gatekeepers shouted the news, and it was reported within the palace. The king got up at night and said to his officers, "I will tell you what the Arameans have done to us. They know we are starving." So they have left the camp to hide in the countryside, thinking, "When they come out of the city, we will capture them alive and get into the city." One of his officers answered, "Some men from the city have already come to us, and let's send some men and find out if this is true." So the king took a chariot with officers and sent them to the camp of Aram. When they reached the Jordan, they saw the whole road strewn with the clothes the Arameans had thrown off in their haste, and the officers returned to the king and reported what they had seen. Then the people went out and plundered the camp of the Arameans. So a seah of flour sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, as the Lord had said. Now the king had put the officer on whose arm he was leaning in charge of the gate, and the people trampled him in the gateway, and he died, just as the man of God had foretold when the king came to him. This is exactly what happened to the officer, as the man of God had said to the king. About this time tomorrow, a seah of flour will sell for a shekel and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. And the king had said to the man of God, "If the Lord opened the windows of the heavens, could this happen?" Elisha had answered, "You will see it with your own eyes, but you will not eat any of it." And that is exactly what happened to him, for the people trampled him in the gateway, and he died. 2 Kings chapter 8, verses 1 to 29. Now Elisha had said to the woman whose son he had brought back to life, "Go away with your family, and stay for a while wherever you can, because the Lord has decreed a famine in the land that will last 7 years. So the woman proceeded to do what the man of God said, and she and her family went and stayed in the land of the Philistines for 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, she came back from the land of the Philistines, and went to the king to appeal for her house and land. The king was talking to Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, and had said, "Tell me about all the great things Elisha has done." Just as Gehazi was telling the king how Elisha had brought the dead back to life, the woman whose son Elisha had restored to life came to appeal to the king for her house and land. Gehazi said, "This is the woman, my lord, and this is her son whom Elisha restored to life." The king asked the woman about it, and she told him. Then the king assigned an official to her case and said, "Give back everything that belonged to her, including all the income from her land from the day she left the country until now." Now Elisha came to Damascus. Ben-Hadad king of Aram was sick and was told, "The man of God has come here." The king said to Hazael, "Take a gift with you and go to meet the man of God. Ask him, 'Will I recover from this illness?'" So Hazael went to meet Elisha, taking as a gift 40 camel loads of all the finest goods of Damascus. He went and stood before him and said, "Your son Ben-Hadad king of Aram has sent me to ask, 'Will I recover from this illness?'" Elisha answered, "Go and say to him, 'You will certainly recover. But the Lord has revealed to me that he will certainly die.'" Then Elisha stared at him intensely, and Hazael was disturbed. Elisha said, "The Lord has shown me that you will become king over Aram." Hazael asked, "How could your servant, who is nobody, do such a great thing?" Elisha answered, "The Lord has shown me that you will do these things. You will burn down their fortified places, and kill their young men with the sword, dash their little children against the rocks, and rip open the pregnant women." Hazael said, "Why would a dog like me do such terrible things?" Elisha answered, "The Lord has shown me that you will be king over Aram." Then Hazael left Elisha and returned to his master. Ben-Hadad asked, "What did Elisha say to you?" Hazael answered, "He said you will certainly recover." But the next day Hazael took a thick cloth, soaked it in water, and spread it over the king's face so that he died. Then Hazael succeeded him as king. In the 5th year of Joram son of Ahab king of Israel, when Jehoshaphat was king of Judah, Jehoram son of Jehoshaphat began to reign as king of Judah. He was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 8 years. He followed the ways of the kings of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done, for he married a daughter of Ahab. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Nevertheless, for the sake of his servant David, the Lord was not willing to destroy Judah. He had promised to give a lamp to David and his descendants forever. In the time of Jehoram, Edom rebelled against Judah and set up their own king. Jehoram went with his officers and all his chariots to Edom. The army of Edom surrounded him and his chariot commanders, but he escaped at night. To this day, Edom has been in rebellion against Judah. Libnah revolted at that time as well. The rest of the events of Jehoram's reign, all he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Judah? Jehoram rested with his ancestors and was buried with them in the city of David. And Ahaziah his son succeeded him as king. In the 12th year of Joram son of Ahab king of Israel, Ahaziah son of Jehoram king of Judah began to reign. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. His mother's name was Athaliah, a granddaughter of Omri king of Israel. He followed the ways of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the eyes of the Lord, as the house of Ahab had done, for he was related by marriage to the house of Ahab. He went with Joram son of Ahab to war against Hazael king of Aram at Ramoth-Gilead. The Arameans wounded Joram, so King Ahaziah went to Joram son of Ahab in Jezreel to see him. Because Ahaziah had been wounded by the Arameans, he went to Joram son of Ahab, who was recovering from his wounds in Jezreel. Ahaziah, grandson of Jehoshaphat king of Judah, went to visit Joram son of Ahab in Jezreel.